I miss your mother. And your brother. God damn it.
That was Kevin Costner's John Dutton talking to his father, as played by Dabney Coleman during Season 2 of Yellowstone. And this is your one spoiler alert warning. Until Episode 4 of Season 5, we didn't have any idea what he was talking about. John had a brother? Finally, during a really tender moment between John and Monica, we got the full story.
I had a brother for about 18 hours. His name was Peter.
Hey, it's Billy Dukes, and that was perhaps the sweetest moment from an episode called Horses in Heaven. Sadly, it was the second of 3 references to a death of a boy under age 2, and the others were quite a bit heavier. In a moment, I'll explain a theory of why one of those references is yet another piece of evidence that this show is winding down. Y'all, I think we have to really consider that Season 5 might be it. Also, you don't want to miss a subscriber discovery about what's very wrong with this scene. Plus, I don't think we're totally done with this woman.
I'm taking your husband home.
Lastly, do we need to put a bolo out for Jimmy and his wife? Give a thumbs up if you loved Episode 4, and please consider subscribing for original Yellowstone and 1923 news and analysis. We do it weekly and feature cast interviews over at the Dutton Rules podcast, links in the description section below. Talking to Monica after she buries her baby boy, John Dutton reveals that for about 18 hours he had a younger brother. The baby was born with a weak heart, and there wasn't treatment back in those days. He tells Monica that, like her son, who died at the end of Episode 1, all he knew was his mother's face.
My father got white as a ghost, looked at my mother and said, Peter lived a perfect life. All he saw of this planet was you, and all he knew was you loved him.
It was a story meant to encourage Monica not to grow hard like his mother did, but it also tied up a big Yellowstone loophole. To end Season 2, we see John Dutton's father say that he missed John's brother. Now we know that brother was Peter, and that John, like Casey and Beth Dutton, and the original John Sr. from 1883, and of course Tate Dutton, he lost a sibling as well. I liked this scene a lot. Casey and Monica's scenes overall have really become something to look forward to this season. However, this time I found how it contrasted John's tense conversation with Beth just a few seconds earlier to be pretty uncomfortable. It was like they were trying to cram too much in. They're both watching the funeral proceedings from afar when John tells Beth, impulse control. Learn some.
Make me a promise. Don't ever let him do that to me. Turn me to ashes and throw me to the wind. That's all the care I want.
John was reprimanding Beth for getting arrested after a bar fight. Shout out to Jamie for getting her out of jail by recognizing that there are no defendants in a bar fight. So if this woman, whose real name is Haley Brewer, files charges, she'd be charged too. She drops the case and exits. Side note, Haley has the same last name as John's personal assistant in the governor's office. Her name is Clara Brewer. I'm really curious to see where that goes. Then there's the car scene between Beth and Jamie, and frankly, I'm not sure how both survive what's to come. She learns that Jamie has a son, and she flips out.
I'm gonna take him from you. I'm gonna rob you of fatherhood, Jamie.
Next time you see him, she adds, kiss him goodbye because he's as good as gone. Until now, Beth has lived on an edge, and some extraordinary violence has only made her stronger. We thought marriage might change her, but after this scene from Episode 3...
Say yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
The totally inappropriate response and temperament at a funeral for her baby, and this blow-up and threat of Jamie's son's life, I think we have to consider that she's fallen off that edge. This isn't the same old Beth. This is a darker, more evil, much more sinister version of Beth Dutton. Jamie may be weak, but he's not going to let his sister kill his son. I think this is really the final round of their years-long fight, and I think it's going to build to the series finale, perhaps as soon as next spring. Remember, Taylor Sheridan told Deadline in 2020 that there might be 2 more seasons of Yellowstone. Then Kevin Costner wouldn't commit to a 6th season by telling USA he really only thought he'd do 1 season to begin with. I realize that none of this is conclusive proof that the show is done after this season, but I ask you to give me a reason why it might go 6 or 7 seasons. Comment below, I'll jump in and listen. And remember, it's a conversation, as our longtime subscribers know well. Jamie's kid is one of 5 characters we expected in Season 5 that we hadn't seen yet. Others include the boy's mother, Christina, Jimmy and Emily are in the show's opening credits, but we're 4 episodes in and they've not yet materialized. Neither had Summer Higgins until John Dutton pardoned her so that she could become sort of an environmental consultant. I don't think she had more than a month or 2 left in her sentence after the violence and the protests on the ranch in season 4, and after promising she wouldn't sleep with John, we got this scene.
Our justice system is in a state of utter collapse, huh? And to think of all the hard work I did to put you in prison.
As governor, John Dutton is hardly thriving. I mean, think about it. In just 1 week's time, his chief of staff has been arrested for a bar fight. The Fish and Wildlife Department suspect his cowboys of killing wolves. And the right, he just pardoned a woman that he slept with, and then he hired her. He also fired just about everyone and refuses to lead the action as the former governor recommended he do. If we're being honest, for 4 episodes, John has mostly just fumbled about the governor's office. This has been the Beth and Jamie season until now, but that might be changing. Sarah Atwood's seduction of Jamie was the other major event from this episode. They hooked up in the bathroom shower stall at Beth's favorite bar, and while they were enjoying each other's not-so-tender embrace, Beth sneaks in and takes a photo of her ID, later realizing that Sarah Atwood is not her real name.
Yeah, not her real name. What a surprise.
But what's Sarah's play here? She's not an agent of Market Equities any longer. As far as I can figure, she's acting on her own behalf, or maybe on the behalf of Carolyn Warner. Time will tell. I think what she represents is Jamie's out. She is the ally he needs to fight back against Beth and the family. Remember, he almost did it once during season 1 when he gave that interview to a reporter. He killed that woman to keep it quiet. I don't think he's going to make the same mistake again. I think it's really hard to ignore that the walls seem to be closing in on both the family and the ranch. Even Rip, who's been a much smaller character than I suspected he would be through the first 4 episodes, seems to recognize this. Now the land is in a conservation easement, and so there is legally no way they can develop or expand for their own good. To use a football analogy, the team is headed in the wrong direction, so if you're hoping for the ranching and the ranching lifestyle to win this game, you might be out of luck. There are just 3 episodes left of the first half of season 5, and then we're gonna likely need to wait until next summer to find out what happens because filming has not even begun on the second half. Several actors have told me that filming for the second 7 episodes begins in March, so look for a rapid acceleration of events starting next week. I'm ready for it because so far season 5 has been a little bit difficult to follow. I think we started to notice some loose ends last year, but that's led to just some plain sloppiness at times this year. Shout out to a subscriber named Carrie who realized that Walker, when he steps out of the shower with Laramie, he doesn't have the brand on his chest. I mean, you just have to call that a big fat mistake by the cast and crew of the show, one that no doubt would not have happened when Yellowstone was all that Taylor Sheridan had to work on. 5 seasons might be enough for me if his attention continues to get pulled elsewhere. I'm Billy Dukes for Taste of Country. Thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing.